have to sort this out on my own. Without the council. And without you. Stay here any longer. Not now. I have to sort this out on my own. Without the council. And without you. Stay here any longer. Not now. I have to sort this out on my own. Without the council. And without you. Stay here any longer. Not now.
Unseen for generations. A Dyad in the Force.
Hello, and welcome to Dyad in the Force. And we got stuff to talk about because, Claudia Gray, god damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got High Republic stuff that dropped. Fallen Star being the big one. I suppose we can talk like a high level of Mission to Disaster, which is also out, which I kind of regret not reading before Fallen Star, but that's just me. Anyways, we're gonna get into it. We are gonna talk about some of the new news that was dropped about the High Republic on the High Republic show last week, or earlier this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then And yeah, we got awesome guests. We got another fellow Dyad, dueling Dyads. So we'll just go ahead and jump into it.
There he is. There's Hereth.
What up?
That's the first one. And then we have the second one.
Hey, what's
we
up?
have Hereth and Carter from They Fly Now podcast. We'll start with Hereth. Introduce yourself to everybody and where we can find you and what you do.
Hello, I'm Hereth Productions. You can find me on Hereth Productions on TikTok, and as you mentioned, the They Fly Now show on YouTube every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. We talk about topics. This week we're talking about Ezra, because obviously my boy Carter. But yeah, Hereth Productions on TikTok mainly.
What about you, Carter?
You can find me on. My picture might be a little bit delayed from my audio because it's weird, but you can find me on TikTok at Car2D2. I kind of post whatever I feel like posting, and then on YouTube, as Hereth mentioned, on They Fly Now, we post our, like you said, we kind of talk about whatever. Ezra's my favorite character, so this week is going to be really, really fun, and I'm excited about it. And we are posting our reactions to Book of Boba Fett every Wednesday, so that's always a good time. And yeah, thank you guys so much for having us.
Absolutely. Jedi Smark in the chat says, what is this, a crossover episode? It is. This is the Dyad Flies Now with the They Fly Now podcast. And Cal asks, is this going to be spoilery? No, it's not. We're going to just talk high-level emotions. Hashtag high-level emotions. Hashtag Fallen Star Therapy. So we're not going to be mentioning any spoilers for Fallen Star. We're just going to be talking about how we feel about it and stuff like that. But
so I didn't mention it before, but we also, I'm sure, have a couple of thoughts that we might share about Book of Boba Fett as well. So hopefully that's not over the line for you either.
Oh yeah, we are. Did I forget to put that in the talking points? Because we are going to talk about Book of Boba Fett, right?
I don't believe it's in the notes, but I...
Oh, yeah, I do. Right here. Last one. I just have
Quinlan
Boss there.
Yeah, it's in the notes.
The Dyad flies now. Yes, we now fly. Spoiler, a star is fallen. Thank you, Malik, for that.
Who would have guessed?
So hello, Camilla. Thank you for tuning in. Hello, everyone, for tuning in, or thank you for tuning in. So just an update from the last Dyad episode. Y'all, holidays money is working. I got a new mount. No flaccidness, no sinking feeling, both metaphysically and physically.
His old mount was just like the Starlight Beacon.
My old mount now holds the ring light.
Ah.
I can't believe you just said that.
Also, yes, Connor says super shot.
Yep.
Feel free to let loose with the SH4T, our droid.
Yeah, remember, guys, combine it. You got to combine the super chat so it says the correct thing. Come on, guys.
Yes.
You got to get the text sheets right.
Super chat, one word is super chat, and then super shat, one word is super shit. I have no idea what's going on with SH4T, but that's the way that she's going to pronounce it. So
Who programmed that droid?
I was the one that did that. I remember, I was like, what happened if you put them together? Oh.
yes.
Good job, Hereth.
And we also had the he and the ha 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 ha.
That's right. That was from a while ago, though, I think, right?
Oh, that was last week.
Yeah.
Our New Year's
never
episode.
mind.
Carter out here not tuning into Dyad and the Force.
I missed the past few weeks, okay? I'm sorry.
Did you have like wrestling or something?
No, I
You just didn't.
think I just...
You're just
forgot
like,
to do.
nah, bro. He ain't about that life.
No, I can't wrestle. I had a torn shoulder and I had surgery and haven't been able to wrestle for like 6 months, so that's great, but...
Yeah,
Sorry
he was
about
just
that.
wrestling with emotions over Claudia Gray's The Fallen Star.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah. Overall, though, I mean, what were your guys' thoughts? Where does this rank in your canon book reads?
I think it's definitely top 2. I do think Lost Stars has it edged out because I think Lost Stars may be just a little bit more of my style. I don't know, but it's so good. This is like, if you're not reading the High Republic, especially after this book, what are you doing? Because Claudia, this is like peak Claudia, puts you through a roller coaster of emotions. Like literally, like you're like think everything's going fine, and then it crashes and burns literally. And no, but really, if you haven't read any of the High Republic, before you get to behind on it, I would say just get into it now. This book is 100% worth the read. Even if for some reason you didn't like the first 2, this one is peak Star Wars.
What about you, Hereth?
I would sort of agree, because like I find like fall into like the No Way Home effect, where you're like, oh, this book is amazing, it meet every expectation I had and exceeded it. But where does it rank? It's like between right now. I would say it's between Fallen Star and Rising Storm. But I don't know, because like they're very different feels, so it's kind of like hard to put it. Definitely top 3, but it's kind of hard to like, I don't know where it would fall in that order.
Yeah. I think for me, it's just like everyone else, or at least for with Hereth, it's between Rising Storm and Fallen Star. But I'm gonna give the edge to Fallen Star simply because it reads differently from anything that I've read before in Star Wars. Like Claudia probably did not set out to write a horror book, but it does.
Yeah,
that.
there's a certain scene that just hits hard, and you're just like, there's so much dread. Like there's this scene that was very much the conveyor belt in Toy Story 3. Feels.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
And you're just like, oh, no.
But we can get to the deeper discussion when we get there. But Choco, like,
so I have to fully disagree with you because I'm putting Rising Storm above this one. Still 1 and 2.
That's
fine.
fine.
It's be a big disagreement, but now it's just swapped. This book, though, I love seeing all these characters that can be created by different authors and things, but because they're always communicating with each other, they can write them correctly, you know. But you can also kind of tell which characters the writers love because they're the ones that created them in their books, with especially who we got to spend time with. And this is not a big spoiler, but Geode is amazing, and I love Geode. We stand Geode.
Geode pulls.
Geode, yeah. Geode's the one. Geode knows kung fu.
Game, recognize game. And I see you over there, Geode. I see you.
But we'll get later into the episode. We'll get into like our deeper kind of discussion as to like how the book made us feel. Of course, we're not going to spoil anything for those of you who haven't read it yet or in the middle of reading it. I see that Xanatos has just finished it, so them feelings is very fresh. And of course, just to kind of create like some excitement for our future episodes, next week is going to be our full Fallen Star breakdown. We're going to go deep into spoilers, so you guys have another week to read Fallen Star. We will have English class with us, as well as Sawyer. Sawyer is back for another High Republic book. And
will
then
Sawyer have it read on time this time?
That's
we shall
the question,
see.
Isn't it?
We shall see. And then the week afterwards is going to be our entire Phase 1 discussion with Xanthi and Camilla. So we're just going to be talking about everything that has led up to this point. And it's just the next couple of weeks are going to be a High Republic, like, you know, stroke fest, if that makes sense.
Yes. And again, bear in mind, y'all, we're all talking Fallen Star, but Mission to Disaster is out as well. Mm-hmm. And so if you enjoyed Justine Ireland's first book, which was, I can't remember the name.
Oh,
A Test of Courage.
A Test of Courage, yes. This is a spiritual successor to A Test of Courage, and it happens right before the Fallen Star.
Yeah, which means I read it second as well, and it made me feel better. I was like, yeah, I guess this is true. This was the palate cleanser I kind of needed. And we can talk about it briefly if you guys have read it at all, or we could just talk about like our first impressions, Choco, if you want to, as well for Mission to Disaster.
Yeah, I mean, first impressions, it had the same tone as before. We got to spend some more time with our people, and I'm really getting to like Emery as a Jedi. He kind of annoyed me at first. But like him just being such a bleeding heart and in touch with everyone around his emotion leads to some interesting storytelling, but also getting to spend time with the rest of the people we met on that first mission. We got to see what Avon Staros has been up to, as well as reconvene with Honesty.
Yeah, it really is. It really is a spiritual successor to A Test of Courage. Like, of course, time has gone by since then, but it's the same characters. This is definitely following Avon and Vernestra, and we get more Padawan stuff, which, like, us, we love Padawan books because we learn the lore with them. And since it's a youth reader, it just doesn't hit as hard as Fallen Star. So, it happens before Fallen Star, but I appreciated reading it after Fallen Star just to kind of be like, all right,
Now,
this is what happiness was like.
Do you need to read Race to Crash Point Tower for it?
No.
Because I've read Test of Courage, but I really want to read Mission to Disaster.
So Race to Crash Point Tower is the youth reader that came with Rising Storm. So that one happened concurrently with Rising Storm, and it's not really required reading. It's just what's happening to this outpost on Valo that is not part of the story, but is there, because they're like pedestrians, bystanders to the story.
Okay.
But there's nothing
specifically in Race to Crash Point Tower that truly bleeds over.
I mean, a little bit, but that just kind of explains how they did it. How it happened in Rising Storm. But a lot of the main books come with youth readers that is just like adjacent to the main story that's happening in the main book. But I do recommend reading Race to Crash Point Tower. Any of the youth readers, really, because they're just like 2-hour reads. You can get through them really quickly, and they provide very, very nice companion piece stories to what you know from the main book. And we all love Vernestra.
Yeah,
this is true.
Yes.
But Chuck, what?
I said the light whip.
Oh yeah. Spoiler alert for A Test of Courage. I already did a video on it anyway, so I mean, it's there, it's out there. Camilla says Himri, Buriaga, Star Wars empaths. Yeah, I don't envy their skill set at all. Malik says the interesting thing with this trilogy is how small the scope gets with each book. Light of the Jedi covers all over the galaxy, then Rising Storm is primarily on Valo, and etc. Fallen Star. Yeah.
I like how it gets smaller and smaller. Scale, and like it gets more and more character driven. Because Light of the Jedi was like, whoa, what's going on? This is huge. And then Rising Storm is like, okay, we got like a few characters we're latching onto, but we're still like in this gigantic storyline. And then Fallen Star just limits down to like a key cast of characters, and I love how it just like focuses in and narrows on them.
Yeah. So Turbo asks Thrawn trilogy or High Republic, and I will personally answer that by saying the High Republic first. Primarily because this is like an era, and it's ever growing, and you kind of want to be on top of that. I will say the Thrawn trilogy, both of them, at this point are like, if you're a fan of Star Wars, is is recommended reading. But I will say that, like, at least for me, the priority is to keep up with High Republic first and foremost. Because it is an organically growing and new story, whereas Thrawn lives within, like, you know, I don't know how else to describe it. He lives within a certain sphere.
I mean, I would agree to an extent. I will say Thrawn is also in its own universe, but it's its own singular vision. It's smaller in scope. Like once you get to the Ascendancy stuff, no one's doing any stuff in the Chiss Ascendancy but Thrawn, but Timothy Zahn. But that being said, I'm enjoying keeping up with the High Republic because, like, we get these discussions. Like, it's not this excitement of we're like trying to anticipate like what's new. This is all brand new and fresh, and we don't know what to expect. And then they threw us a huge other monkey wrench. Now that we've gotten to the end of this whole first phase with what's coming next. So between the two, both great. Thrawn is out there. It's already out. It's not going anywhere. You can catch up anytime. This has real consequences that we are going to continue seeing echoes of moving forward through new content. You know, we even have a character that we met in the bounty hunters that is part of one of the storms in in Mission to Disaster. A very long-lived species.
Yeah.
Sorry for spoilers. It's not a spoiler, but still. So yeah, High Republic is what I'm saying, and I'm sticking to it. There's a lot more to read, but it's fun.
We seemingly lost Hereth.
Star Wars Rebels. If you're a big Star Wars Rebels fan, Thrawn like makes it so much better.
Yeah.
Reading them side by side, like so it'd be like the first Thrawn book, then season 1, and then the second Thrawn book, then season 2 and 3. It's first Thrawn, the first 2 seasons, and then I think it's Thrawn after season 1, then watch season 1, then Alliances watch season, or after hold on, so watch season 1, season 2, then in between 2 and 3 read Alliances, then when Thrawn leaves in season 4 read Treason, and it, like, I just did it like a few months ago, and it's like perfection.
Yeah. What about you, Hereth?
I would say if I had to view it, like, the High Republic is very much a new era. It's establishing new things, and obviously we don't know anything about it. Well, with Thrawn, I would say it's more supplementary material to Rebels. Well, it's really good supplementary material. It's still supplementary material, and it doesn't really give you anything new. It's just like supporting what's already there. While the High Republic is like, here's new information, here's new Jedi, here's all this and that. It's very much a new.
To clarify, were we only talking Thrawn trilogy or trilogy and Ascendancy?
Trilogy.
I was only talking trilogy. That's all I've read.
My bad. Never mind.
Well, I mean, my thoughts and stance stand with both of them. You know, but don't get me wrong, both Thrawn trilogies are required / recommended reading if you really love Star Wars. And if you love Thrawn too.
Yeah, they've taken characters like, I used to hate Price, and then after reading the first Thrawn book, I have more of like, I guess, a respect for her. She's still, I still don't like her, but
yeah. But that's what happens when you get more story.
Backstory and stuff. Yeah, of course.
Do you guys recommend the audiobook for Mission to Disaster? The person who narrates does a great Vernestra. Yeah, I would. They also do a great Avon too. Like, it's a wonderful experience. Like,
Is it the same person who did Test of Courage?
I'm not sure. The only audiobook narrator that I'm familiar with is Mark Thompson, which saddens me. But if it's the same one, yeah. I mean, they do a great Avon, Vernestra.
Is that January Lavoie?
I believe she does all 3. I think she does Test of Courage, Out of the Shadows, and Mission to Disaster. I believe she does all 3 of them.
Let's see, Test of Courage.
Because writers have their own audiobook narrators with like Timmy Zahn has Mark
Taylor
Hamill.
Lee. Taylor Lee did A Test of Courage. Race to Crash Point Tower was Todd Haberkorn, and Mission to Disaster is Kaylor Lee. So same person for Test of Courage and Mission Disaster.
Nice. Is The Fallen Star the first book in the fourth trilogy in the High Republic? It is book 3. So the way it works is Light of the Jedi is book 1, and then it came with 2 other companion pieces, which was Into the Dark and A Test of Courage. Book 2 was The Rising Storm, and that came with Race to Crash Point Tower and Out of the Shadows. And then afterwards was an audio drama, Tempest Runner. And then book 3 is Fallen Star, coming with Mission to Disaster, and Midnight Horizon, which comes out next month by Daniel Jose Older. So I don't know if I would call them trilogies, but each book comes with companion books, and so Fallen Star is book 3 because like each book in this phase is adult books.
I would personally, I'm gonna say, I would go with like Choco's kind of answer for what the adult trilogy is on High Ground. He said it on Wednesday, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. I've been thinking about it. I just never said it. That the adult trilogies are very much like the Avengers movies. Yes, you can get by just watching the Avengers movies, but you're missing out on a lot of information. And then I would say the YAs are like very much like the solo movies. And then like I would say the comics are like TV shows. And then I don't know what the young readers would be by this definition, the MCU comparison. That's how I kind of look at it.
It's like Netflix.
Yeah, it's like the Netflix shows.
No, it's more connected than that. But I will.
I would reverse it.
I have one very specific addendum to it. In that specifically the second book, Out of the Shadows, is like Civil War, where it's not an Avengers movie, but that film has major consequences for the Avengers and their stuff going forward. That book I think is underrated, and it certainly wasn't my favorite book, but the things that happen in that book are really big for setup for what's going on with the Nile moving forward.
Yeah. But
Into the Dark introduces a lot of characters that we see in Fallen Star also, so
it is
definitely get some backstory and wanna
so the adult books are the main books, and then the YAs are like they're more closely tied to the adult books, and there's a bit more stakes and there's a bit more involvement in the main books, and then the youth readers of course are just kind of like fun stories that happen on the outskirts of each story. So you can get by, just as Choco said, you can get by reading all of the adult novels, but your consumption of the High Republic would be escalated and elevated further by reading the YAs and the youth readers. And that's just
like imagine like I say, watching the Avengers movies, but you haven't seen the Captain America trilogy, so you don't understand his journey and what it meant to find Bucky. You wouldn't understand On Your Left. You know what I mean? Certain things just wouldn't hit as hard if you didn't get to experience them.
Absolutely. Could you further explain the High Republic? I looked up a timeline and it says that chronologically the Fallen Star is the 10th book. There's a lot of books. There's a lot of one-shots and there's a lot of short stories, but going off of the timeline that I have, Light of the Jedi is the beginning. Book 1. And there is A Test of Courage, the youth reader, and the YA Into the Dark. And then that also comes with High Republic comic issues 1 through 7, High Republic Adventures issues 1 through 8, Monster of Temple Peak issues 1 through 4. Book 2, The Rising Storm, comes with the YA Out of the Shadows, youth reader, Race to Crash Point Tower. And then that continues on from High Republic Adventures issue 9 and forward, the comics issues 8 and forward, and then there's the audio drama Tempest Runner, And then we have actually the Trail of Shadows, that comic by Daniel Jose Older that starts on issue 1 right after Rising Storm.
Oh my god, I'm so excited to get to the conclusion of that story. Oh man, Emmerich is such a cool Jedi, and his droid is also amazing.
Yeah. So the books have 2 books tied.
Go ahead.
Well, Turbo goes on to ask, the books have 2 books tied to them. So each adult novel, there's 3 adult novels in High Republic right now. Each adult one has a YA and a youth reader attached to it. So yes, there are 2 books tied to each main adult novel. All right, what were you saying, Choco?
Well, I'm curious how excited y'all are for this upcoming week. This next drop that we're gonna get. I know probably Malik in the chat is probably freaking out about it, but we're getting something on, what is it, January 12th?
I believe.
Yeah, we are.
Is that not Eye of the Storm?
It is Eye of the Storm.
Part one, right? So Eye of the Storm is going to be Fat Comics is part 1. We are going to get dive into the backstory of Markion.
What?
Yeah.
When was this a thing? What? Oh my gosh, I didn't know.
It's been a thing for a while, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It was
January
a thing
12th.
when Wave 3 was announced, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is by Charles
Like
Soule.
how far in the past is it from?
Well, okay, so it's not necessarily a fixed point in time. I do believe that they said that it would explore his past, but also part of the comic starts off after Fallen Star. So there's going to be like continuations, but also it would explore his past. So it's just kind of like Book of Boba Fett flashback style, you know?
Maybe a little bit of like Tempest Runner stuff we saw in there with Marcion and Asgar, maybe?
It's Markion, man.
Markion.
The audiobook narrators are on board this time. Hashtag
Yep.
Markion.
Hashtag Markion Thompson.
Yeah.
Markion Thompson.
But speaking of High Republic news, Choco, what happened this week on the High Republic show about Phase 2?
Yeah, so I'm like, man, what's gonna hit after Fallen Star? What's gonna hit after Fallen Star? And what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna go back, way back in time. Yeah, they were jumping backwards 150 years. And that's the time period we're gonna go back and play in. So I think we might be able to see like what the formation of this republic was like, because we've been seeing them get closer and closer to the Jedi, but there was a time before this. We may, but that I feel like that lines up with Mari Santeca was very old. Her life was extended well past a human. So we may get some of that hyperspace prospecting. They may be able to take a really interesting angle on things. Huh? Get it? Because Porter Angle. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna find out why Porter Angle is called the Blade of Bardata. But yeah, not to mention, we also do have a lot more long-lived Jedi that we could spend some time with.
Yoda's back.
Prime Yoda?
Yeah.
Yoda's gonna be there?
Yoda will be there? Oppo?
I hope Yoda's there.
Well, I mean, like,
Unlike
Yoda's gonna be there for the next, like, 4 phases. At this point, if they keep going back 150 years. Yeah. He's still 664 at Light of the Jedi. And then... No, 3 phases. He's...
Terrace Nube might still be there.
Yeah, Hu Yang.
Oppo?
Hu Yang, yeah.
Is Oppo that old?
Yes. And I was talking to Choco about, like, the implications of going back, too, because we might, like, if you read A Test of Courage, we might get to see some, like, people that were referenced in this time. Like the Guardians of Javin in A Test of Courage, or Serval the Uncanny, or any of these people. We might even see Talboda Like the Padawans, the Padawans that talk about Tal Boda and like the movies, and he's like, oh man, like back in the day. So like how far back is that? Could we see Tal Boda? And like Brooke says, can we see Baby Boryaga? Like he just comes out and goes like, oh hello.
Hello, how you going? I feel like one connection that I feel like will come into play is I remember at the end of Light of the Jedi when Mark Monroe has loaded in the cell and he goes, I learned about these torture techniques with the Force through my grandmother. Like we have these connections to the Roe family that go back generations. I feel like that's got to come into play because they need the information from here to beat them in the future.
Yes,
like they need to go back to the past.
Absolutely.
And I think the impetus for that is going to be the Leveler, because it was like on a trip with someone that knows the Rose family, and it's like, are you guys coming back? If you recall that in the beginning of Rising Storm, when they were with Udi
Dis,
and so that we need to find out like the past of that place, and I think we're gonna get the Trail of Shadows, and that's going to kind of be the final thing that leads us into what the past is.
Yeah.
We also might get some nuggets in Midnight Horizons, which I have not started yet.
Yeah, I mean there's a whole bunch of things that Comac and Reith have mentioned about, like, the ancient times, or like, way back. There's a lot of things that are mentioned that there's just no hard date on as to when they happened. So going back further and further into the past, it increases the likelihood we'll see some of these things mentioned. And let me answer this question really quickly before we go any further. Turbo asks, do you recommend audiobooks or hard copy? I recommend both. And I know this is a difficult thing to do for some people, because that requires a double investment, but I would recommend audiobook if you don't have a lot of free sitting time to read a book, and the hard copy if you do. But normally I suggest both, because it doubles your attention and it doubles your reading speed. I read and listen at the same time at 2.5x. 1x is too slow for me. And it just, like, reading it and listening to it, you get the sound effects, the music, like the immersion factor, but also you can read it and retain the information as well, and you get to see how things are pronounced as well. So
yeah,
no, it's like it honestly feels like a movie if you're reading while listening to it.
Yeah, reading subtitles.
Just because you get
right.
What?
Like reading subtitles.
No, reading. No, I'm saying
I'm likening it to reading subtitles in a movie. Like you're watching a movie and you're reading the subtitles.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. It's really it's the best way to do it. Especially because like. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were finished. No, okay.
No, I was just gonna say. I know, like, personally, a lot of times whenever I read by myself, I'll get through like a little bit, and then I'll like start dozing off and going asleep, and then it'll take me a lot longer to finish a book. But the audiobooks allow you to keep your pace, and it like retains your attention a lot better. Yeah. That's personally what I feel.
Because there have been multiple times like where I'm reading a book while listening to it, and something happens, and I'm like, oh, I need to put the book down real quick and like go investigate what's going on, and then I'm like, I'm still listening to what's going on, I'm still keeping retention, and I get back and I just flip back to the pages where I'm at.
Yeah, there's like a lot of times where I'll be reading it, and then I'm like, oh, I have to drive down to the city or whatever, and I'm just like listening to it in the car ride, and then I listen to it when I'm coming back, and then go right back into reading it. So it's like you never really stop, and it feels the same, and you're getting the same information.
Yeah, I also recommend Kindle sometimes too. And if you know, like I was trying to reread Fallen Star, and the book slipped. I caught it, but ended up ripping a page, and the page,
a very important page.
The page that I ripped was so like, does God exist? Like that kind of things. If you don't know, I'm gonna speak ambiguously about this, but the page that ripped involves a Wayseeker. And it was just a bad page to rip. Like, it just knew. It was like, and like the universe was laughing at me. But what were we talking about? Going back in time? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, Boruka Wookie says, "I'm gonna miss Chancellor. So no one runs a republic like she does," which is, by the way, that's not a spoiler. We're not saying she doesn't run or anything like that. It's because we're going back in time. Is why she's saying that, and obviously she's not been Chancellor for 200 years. But that being said, I look at Lena So as what Padme would have done as Chancellor. Anyone else think that?
Yeah.
If
she had a republic that was like hugely supportive.
Yeah.
I feel like Lena might have been too more optimistic than Padme would be. I don't know.
No, but I think that's the point.
That's similar. Yeah.
Because Padme was just ultimately like, you don't get more optimistic than Anakin turning to the dark side and being like, "There's good in him. I know it."
Yeah.
True.
They share a lot of important qualities in a leader that is largely trying to push progression and progress onto the galaxy.
Like, if just trusting, if you give the people enough support, they can do better. And if you read the Queen's books, you'll know just what kind of a politician she is and how compassionate she is. And so anyone that is a successful chancellor would definitely remind you of Padme if she had existed in a time where everyone around her wasn't trying to ruin the galaxy. And I like this headcanon. Padme reads Chancellor So's autobiography on the regular. A holobiography? Would that be what it's called? Holobio?
Yeah.
Like what Ventress is reading of or watching of Dooku's backstory kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Jedi Lost.
But going back in time also leads to me speculating that we are making slow backward gains. We're doing like gainer backflips on the old Republic. And I think that although I think that phase 2 is going back 150 years and phase 3 is rejoining just so we can get the history lesson from 150 years ago and then going back, I do believe that the best course of action to reach the old Republic is to keep going back in small increments, just so they give themselves a whole bunch of point Bs to connect the dots. Whereas if they go back 5,000 years and they're like, okay, we don't have like any kind of stories in proximity that we can kind of tie the dots to or connect the dots to.
And
do you think that phase 3 is going to be right after Fallen Star or like 20 years or so after?
6,000 years in the future.
Boom.
Yeah. Right where George is being born. And his mother is like, let's name him George.
It's no longer a long time ago.
For anyone, we were watching some Star Wars fan films before this started. The first one was called Origins. And it was interesting because it was a story that takes place in our universe in like the 1940s. And it was interesting, but it was certainly an origin story for George.
Yes, it was.
Butterker Wiki says Padme bleeds. We are all the Republic in a time when the Republic is the most separated. Absolutely. And I'm even going to add to your headcanon. I bet she grew up with 2 stuffed animal Targans named Matari and Boru.
Aw.
That would be, man. That's so
or she
wholesome.
had like cats or something like that that's what they named.
But to like kind of extend the thought train of like going back to like phase 2, kind of extend the thought train. I think it was Luke of Pod One's podcast that told me this, but like as soon as he said it, I'm like, yeah, you got it. It's, if you think about it in like increments, phase 1 is the original trilogy, phase 2 is the prequel trilogy, and then phase 3 eventually is going to be the sequel trilogy. They're doing the saga basically, but in the High Republic.
Yes, I like that
Possibly.
a lot. And then phase 4 is their next High Republic, which is 300 years 300 years prior to the prequel trilogy of the High Republic. So wait, if we go back, phase 2 is 384, baby, and then if they go back to the sequels, phase 4 will be 300 years back from phase 2. So that would be 684, baby. And that's really close, but I think they're still not the Old Republic though. But I do think they're going to make a slow climb to the Old Republic for sure.
If I were them, I wouldn't touch the Old Republic for another 10 years.
Facts.
I mean, if we're talking about phases like this, it's probably going to be another 10 years before they reach that time.
That's true. That is true. I just
when is phase 2 starting?
October.
Sorry.
October. Yeah.
Shut up. October?
Yeah.
I thought it was like March.
Nope.
I was like strapping in for no.
Yeah, this stuff can't be
Why not
happening
far?
while Kenobi is happening.
Oh, yeah. Still, that's sad.
Brooke says, I just need confirmation that Revan and Bastila were the first Dyad. And, I mean, headcanon, I confirm it myself, because if they're going to canonize that story in any way, shape, or form, they're going to have to give people the lore precedent for the Dyad, unseen for generations. And if they do canonize Revan and Bastila's story, what is it, 49? Well, I'll just say 5,000, baby. Back then, that's several generations, unseen for generations. That's several hundred generations.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the way that what's his name, Vandar, talks about their connection is he just sits there and describes the Dyad to him. He just doesn't use the word Dyad, but he just straight explains it to him. Yeah,
That's gonna make some people mad. Some people will be very upset.
Because they're gonna touch Revan and Bastila now, and then they use them to kind of like, you know, to legitimize the sequels. You're like, no.
So as much as I love the Old Republic, I really do, and it's still my second favorite era. But one of the issues I've had with it, and one of the things I think would make it difficult to bring into canon, is the fact that the galaxy is largely exactly the same thousands of years ago. You know what I mean? That would be like saying ancient Babylon would be the same as today.
Yeah, I mean that was my biggest critique of the Old Republic when it first came out. I was like, oh yeah, I mean the galaxy's larger than before.
Yeah, it was larger and more connected with all the same exact technology.
Yeah, but I think
Hyperspace lore is really cool, and like learning how they're expanding and how like Mars Santeca operates. I don't know. That's all really cool.
That's
stuff
that's what Choco purports is going to be the case for phase 2. But I also think that if they were to make small jumps back to the Old Republic, they would be considerate of that, Choco. And I think that largely they wouldn't canonize the Old Republic the way we know it. You know, they might canonize just like how they've done it with Thrawn, just like how they've done it with Surik's Blade. I think they might canonize characters we know from Old Republic through sprinkling Easter eggs here and there. But once they reach the Old Republic, at least with this story group in charge, they're going to do like my my Old Republic dream is that they finally get there and we have like stories going back from 384 baby to 6 to 9, and then they get to like 2000 and 3000 and 4000, and finally we're here. No one is prospecting anything right now. No one knows. No one has Purgle class starships. No one knows about Purgles. Everyone is just traveling. It's like basically New Jersey or California, and like there's only a couple of there's only the inner core worlds that are like, you know, bustling, and you know the frontier is like Onderon or something, just mid-rim planets, and no one is hyperspace traveling. They are like literally taking years to travel to planets, and I think they can do that. I think they can make an Old Republic where it is very legitimate in terms of like technological progress.
Well, it's
That
like
just reminds me of
on the ocean blue.
It reminds me of the original Guardians of the Galaxy. There's one character where he was sent to go visit a planet, like, and knowing this is going to take like 1,000 years to get there, and so like he's put into stasis, and he's sent out. Well, over the next like 200 years, the people on his planet develop better technology, send people there faster, and then so by the time he gets there, his people have already been there for like 500 years.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's, you know, and if you watch Foundation as well on Apple TV Plus, I hate to like shout out Apple, but you know, it is a good show. Like there's like a point where the group of people that they're talking about is sent to a far reaches of space colony, and as a punishment, they can't travel via jump ship. They have to do it the old-fashioned way. And one person is sent out in cryosleep, and like 300 years later, like the colony's already been there. They've gone through the throes of life, and then she meets like a person that is already like a generation past her, and she's just like, what the hell? So I can't imagine if Star Wars ever like went through that rabbit hole, you know, of actual light years compared to the world that they like disembarked from. That would be interesting to travel or to explore.
Very similar to a plot point like in Lost in Space. So I just love how like every sci-fi thing like has like these weird bleed things where you're like, oh, this is similar to this, oh, this is similar to that, oh. It's just like tropes in sci-fi.
Well, I mean, I suppose there is another very real possibility, and it is, you remember how there's all these, you know, people and shows and things that are speculating like, oh, the pyramids were built by aliens and stuff like that. I mean, and the actual reason for that is like low-key racism. Well, because back then there was also people that understood math and science and could build things, and they would have systems of pulleys and levers. You know what I mean? Like it was still created by people. So that being said, we could also get into a similar situation where a civilization was lost in the technology along with that civilization, and the next group that came along had to progress up to that same point. That's entirely a possibility as well. We have the Maxine station that we got introduced to in Into the Dark, and that station had crazy hyperspace capabilities, and we could potentially explore what happened to that station, and how that, you know, so does that station predate their hyperspace travels like that? You know, does that station predate Mari Santeca's hyperspace prospecting?
Yeah,
I don't know. We might get that explained.
I think it would have to, because right, the way they explained the Maxine station is that they were set jump points to planets instead of like routes through space. Right, because like the and spoilers for like Into the Dark if you haven't read it. When is it Wreath?
Yeah, it's
Reeth.
Reeth gets
Reeth and Dez.
Yeah, when Reeth and Dez get into that pod, it just takes them to a planet. So I think that would be the kind of like the rudimentary version of hyperspace travel, where you would find a planet and then you would, select the most straightforward point A to B to that planet, and that station had a whole bunch of planets that were safe to travel to and fro. That would be really cool to explore. I would love it. And so that kind of gives us a reason to go back to the Old Republic, and for the people to happen upon a Rakata spaceship, and they're like, what is this drive? Like, and canonize the Rakata in that way, Well, I think aren't the Rakata like canon just by name, in terms of, because it's in absolutely everything you need to know, or at least in the Legend of Lahan, right? That's
I do recall it being mentioned. I just don't recall where, so I'm reticent to actually confirm it.
Yeah, there is. It's in the I covered this recently. It's in the Legend of Lahan, where the Rakata. Rakata Prime is another name for Lahan, but in the Legend of Lahan in canon, they talk about how they went to war with the Kamunga of Tatooine, and this is like the Tatooine used to be a lush planet story. So, yeah, I think that's how people discovered hyperspace. They had the Maxine technology, and they had like the Rakata, and I'm just excited to go back in time, like further and further into the past. It might be 10 years until we get to it, but
yeah. I
think something also.
Oh, sorry, go Carter.
I'll just say something like, people don't really realize that, or a lot of people overlook the fact that there was 40 years of stuff, and Disney just got 10 years ago, and everyone's like, oh, we want all this now. It's like that we literally took 30 years to develop this stuff. They're not just going to get it in 2.
Yeah, that's true.
Patience.
I remember when how ridiculous and unrealistic me and Choco were at the Investors Day, when they were like spending 25,000 years, and we're like, Dawn of the Jedi. We were just like, we're getting all of this.
I mean, and I do it again. No, I like hope, man. I like hope. No, it's a great time though. I mean, we always say it's a great time to be a Star Wars fan, because just like you said, there was huge periods, and I feel like Marvel has kind of led people to believe that there should be something every year, but Star Wars, since its inception, for large projects, there was 8 for like 30 years, right? We had 3 movies, and then 15 years later we got 3 more, and then we got the Clone Wars as a movie and a TV show. And that's it. I mean, sorry, that's not true. We had the Ewok Adventures,
Holiday Special.
We had Willow.
And, I mean, yeah. but we've gotten so much stuff now that it almost feels like, well, why isn't there more? And like, no, we've never gotten this much before. Like. Mm-hmm. I just think it's interesting.
I mean, look at the one time we got 2 blockbusters in 1 year. It kind of backfired on everything, and with Solo and Last Jedi, like, didn't work at all. Because all the backlash from Last Jedi just screwed over Solo. Maybe if Solo was another year or 2, the future would have done better in the box office and stuff.
I mean, I'm even hesitant to say that though, because there is a lot more. Like I'm sure there was some aspect of the backlash of The Last Jedi. I'm not gonna deny that at all. But there was also just in general less interest in Solo, because it was like, even myself, who loves everything Star Wars, is like, I don't know why we need this. Like, I don't who asked for this. And then it was not it was so close to it, and it launched right in between Deadpool 2 and Infinity War.
Yeah, it was a really bad place.
Yeah, that's right.
And there was zero marketing. The first commercial for it happened during the Super Bowl, so February, for a movie that, and we had all of the news of all the troubles on set and them having to change directors. I don't know, that movie had a hard road from the start, but also I don't think that's what affected any future movies. I think at that point in time, Disney was already in the process of acquiring companies and developing Disney Plus. And so, because I remember before Solo even came out, we actually had rumors that they were going to do a TV show, a movie about an Obi-Wan movie, right? Those were rumors back then. A Mandalorian movie and a Boba Fett movie were all rumored. Those are all shows now. So I would hesitate to say Solo affected them. I think they just changed to Disney Plus projects because Disney was investing so heavily in making that platform a success, which I think is a better move anyways.
I will confirm the Solo marketing. The only time I ever saw it out in the wild was when I was eating at Denny's. And
the cups.
Yeah, they had the cups and the Millennium Falcon lids, and I was like, I'll take those, but Jesus, why am I hearing about this here? I have it on my shelf. Like, it's like, you don't expect a Denny's cup to be Star Wars merch, but there it is.
I remember the first time I encountered marketing for Solo, I believe, what movie was it? I know it was Black Panther. Yeah, it was I remember it was I have a good feeling about this trailer.
It was just poor timing on their part.
It was a lot of stuff happening at the same time.
Xanatos got a bunch of Solo merch from Denny's too. And a closing Toys R Us. Wow.
Ripping the chat. Toys R Us.
Okay, so before we run out of time, let's get to Fallen Star. Our early thoughts, no spoilers, and thank you for the topic. Messing up things, but whatever. All right, so the number one question I want to ask you guys is, how did this change the High Republic for you? How do you feel now? We'll start with Carter.
Empty.
I feel heartbroken. There is one thing that happened at the end that I was like, oh, whew, okay, we're good. But, like, kind of good. But, I can't spoil it. But, no, it builds, like, this book is amazing. Like we were saying earlier, I think this is, in my opinion, the best High Republic book. Get ready for a roller coaster of emotions. I think we've all been saying that for like months now. Like, get ready for Fallen Star, and it's real. Like, the hype is real. It's definitely worth a read. And for the overall High Republic, I would just say that this book, it's not what you would expect for a third book, because I feel like with Star Wars, well, at least for the original trilogy, which this kind of is, we kind of get the happy story in A New Hope. We get the Empire Strikes Back, which is kind of like Rising Storm, and then you expect, Fallen Star may end off like Return of the Jedi. It doesn't. And that's like you like close the book and you're like, wait, what? This isn't how this is supposed to end. Why is this trilogy of books ending sad and bad and why? And it's like, it's just like it I really like how it changed. I do like how it changes it up, because that's something that we like. I don't know, like, we're used to, especially, well, obviously the prequels had to end on a sour note, but with the originals and the sequels, both ended off on a good note. And this, like, you're like, oh geez, this is not a good note. This is a really, really bad note.
Well, I mean, if you think about the prequel trilogy having to connect to the originals and it had to end on a sour note, it's kind of like we know that the Jedi at some point turn into this institution that is deeply flawed and is reflected in the prequels. So it's like you do kind of think that at the end of the High Republic, the cracks are there, and they're hurtling towards the prequel Jedi that will ultimately fall.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. It's just, I don't know, because my prediction was like going into the book. I was like, I think we're gonna take a lot of losses, but still, in the end, the Jedi are gonna come through. And I was just like waiting. I'm like, come on. Is it gonna happen? And it doesn't.
So that's one of the reasons I'm looking forward to going back 150 years, because now we get to really see the Jedi at their prime.
Yeah. What about you, Hereth?
Yeah, kind of just building up what Carter says. I would say it adds to the High Republic overall is it's very much more of a character study than the other two. Again, like the other two are just like these large scale events where you're like, oh my god. I feel like Claudia Gray does her best because she like narrows in on just the characters and what their arcs are from the other two books, and she just like turns it up to 11. I disagree with you guys like assessment of, like it's a horror novel. I would say it's more of suspense. I kind of like say it's more like a 10 Cloverfield Lane where it's like you're feeling suspense. You're tired, like oh my god, what's gonna happen next? And then like something happens, you're like, oh my god, we need to go fix that. I mean, like it keeps building on each other until like it topples.
So it depends on how you view Alien, like the first Alien, because I always liken the first Alien to a horror film, like a sci-fi horror, and the way some passages are written in this book is very much like kind of like that looming dread, and the way that the characters speak about this mystery, as I'll say ambiguously, is kind of just like Alien, like something is happening and we don't know what it is, and then we get to the finer detail points, and it does play out like Go ahead, Choco.
Oh no, I was just gonna sing. There's something wrong with the space station. I don't know what it is. I see it more like a Jerry Bruckheimer end of the world type movie. You know how those end of the world type movies, things just keep cascading where they're like, okay, we have to run, and then they like get in the plane. They're like, but the plane's almost out of gas. But then lava is chasing us, and then oh no, the runway is falling, and like it just keeps like there's like, okay, that's enough, and then they dump more on. That's kind of how I felt about this, but I would absolutely say there's horror elements.
Yeah. Especially when you think about like how in a horror film like people just start disappearing. And then you're like, everyone, and the whole group is like, hey, I thought they just went to the shed. It's like, really? In a horror film, you gonna go to the shed?
Then
but at the same time, I think that the order that they chose people to write these major books in was perfect, because they did write one that was like the first one. Yes, there was a lot of loss and big, but we didn't know any of the characters yet, right? Yeah. So that one gave us the names, gave us who they were. The next one gave us some actual like skin in the game. We got to spend time with them and see how these people are individually reacting to this negative and bad stuff. And then this one took all that we know and made sure that all these characters knew what the stakes were going into it. Mm-hmm. And then and then Claudia Gray, who is a master character worker, has broken all of our hearts.
Yeah.
Once again.
Are you surprised?
I ran into some Claudia Gray stands at work the other day, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Did they have something to say?
Cool. So basically, I like rounded the corner, like I was just like walking, because I work at Target, and I like went around the corner, and someone's like taking a picture with Thrawn, and I was like, "Oh, do you guys like Thrawn?" And then we just started talking about like Star Wars books, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I've met Claudia Gray before. She's like my favorite." And I was like, "Me too." And then we just started talking about Lost Stars, and they were like just getting ready to read Fallen Star, and I was like, "Buckle up."
Hold on to your
Buckle up.
butts.
Buckle up, mother.
And this is why I reluctantly place this as my favorite canon book, because of the circumstances with which I say that. It's like wow, this is so like devastating. It's my favorite. You know?
I forget it.
It hurts so good.
I
Yeah.
forget who said it in a comment section, but someone said it best, where it's like Claudia Gray punches you in the gut and then throws you in front of a truck.
Yeah. I mean, well, shout out to Kiki from the PNW, hashtag accountability, hashtag the Jedi.
Hey,
are
PNW
problematic.
representation. Let's go. Pacific Northwest. Let's rise up.
And then Camilla says, it was so contained in such a great way, Starlight Beacon became a haunted house of sorts. It really did. It really did. Like there were there was a looming presence, and everyone was like, "What is that? Do you sense that?" Just like all that stuff that you would get from like, I mean, it definitely wasn't like one of those like paranormal investigation shows, which I want to do a video of soon. Just kind of like hacking on them a little bit.
Yeah, it's like,
what's up,
it's
Luke?
like, "Oh, do you feel that?" What's up,
Hey,
Luke?
Luke.
But it's like, "Oh, do you feel that?" "Yeah, I feel that. We should be fine. Let's just keep going."
Oh
And
man,
then, like
Regional
50
Cole.
pages later, they're like, "Do you feel that?" "Yeah." "Oh, well, we're good. Just keep going."
Reginald
Yeah.
Cole, one of the characters.
Oh, Reginald.
It's like, nah. Yo, we're doing this to ourselves, you know? Like,
Nothing, guys,
It's
come
also, yeah. I mean, this is like an overview, so I'm not gonna go any deeper. But there's like some moments that were similar to, even to Joris's effect in Heir to the Empire. Some of the stuff he was up to. But yeah, we will. I'll get into that next week when we go full on.
Now, do you guys think that we are going to get a direct conclusion to this story with Marchion and all the Jedi?
Who's
Like,
Marchion?
in Comic. Marchion.
Oh, that's who you. Sorry. No, I'm kidding. I accept both. I just had to call you out.
No, it should be, especially after listening to the audiobook. It's like other people in the galaxy are referring to Marchion, so I am in the wrong.
It's not your fault though. Like we've talked to two people that were like, yeah, we always said Marchion the entire time. The entire time in the writer's room it was always Marchion, and I don't know what happened.
I love how it becomes a joke in Tempest Runner, because like everyone else calls him Marchion, and Marchion just gets really triggered over that. I love how that just becomes a joke. So like, I mean, you're not wrong. It's technically in universe, so
Yeah. The Marchion
Princess
stuff.
Leia and Leia, Han and Han.
I was just reading Luke's Pain, Just Pain. What is Star Wars if not pain persevering? And that's totally true. It's just one of those books that like you kind of prepare yourself for, but just weren't prepared for it.
no.
You think you're prepared for it, but then you read it and you're like, I was not prepared for this at all.
I don't even think were we at all correct in any of our predictions, Choco? Like our bets? I even forgot what I bet, but I knew that Avar wasn't like. I knew that I had said a couple of people weren't going to die.
I mean, I did call that, if you recall, of a specific individual.
You'll have to DM me.
Yeah.
I got one spot on. I got one dead bullseye accurate, one person's death.
Yeah.
But there was another person that I was 1,000% was gonna make it. Didn't.
Well, we'll have to see. I mean, if I'm thinking of who you're, if I'm thinking correctly of who you're thinking of, that might be
No.
Okay.
Use the Dyad energy.
That's it. That's just full stop. They're gone.
Transfer it between you two.
The Dyad energy is thriving right now.
Yeah, it's weird to know what he thinks that I'm thinking, but that's not who I'm thinking.
Yeah, it's if you haven't read Fallen Star yet,
What are you doing?
yeah, please, at the very least, read Light of the Jedi, Rising Storm, and then Fallen Star. But
3.
it's
Get
such
the
a
Target exclusive. You get a poster. It's really cool.
Great book.
You gotta make me go to my bookshelf. I
Yeah.
have all of your books right next to you.
I mean, I just brought these two next to me because I was filming videos all week, and I was like, you know what, this might be useful later.
Guys, stop. Okay, my bookshelf is back there. Y'all are like taking out your.
Well, I don't know that mine had a poster.
Did you not? Well, if you don't have the Target exclusive.
Oh yeah, then that.
I'll wait for the out of print version to come out in like 3 weeks when I get it.
Ooh.
And that's the correct answer. I think the out of print cover is just far exceeding this one.
Perfection.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know if you guys saw Stardust M's video. Like that made me cry again.
Oh, that hurt like a truck. Yeah.
First of all, I can't watch a video of her crying because that's just way too much emotions. And you know, I contemplated whether or not I should like comment sarcastically. It's like, it's not Claudia's fault. Like they like, but you know, everyone has to simmer with their own feelings because they're all valid. And it hurt. That video hurt. Like that was some real emotions going on.
What got me the most was I'll shout out 2 people. I'll shout out Camilla, like watching her, like she kept taking pictures of herself while reading it, and you can kind of piece together the moment she was like, taking pictures. Like, oh, you're like, oh, that scene, oh god. And then the other person I remember, he also did a video on it, but he also came in Discord effort. It has to be Malik. Malik, after he finished it, just sounded
was
distraught. He was in depression.
Malik went, I finished Lost Stars.
Or Fallen Star.
And we went, okay, or Fallen Star. And we went, okay, let's go in the spoiler chat.
We'll go on the spoiler room. We had, like,
I know. I sent Hereth a picture of me crying after.
Now the best thing for me was talking about it in front of you two, I believe, where you hadn't finished it yet.
Oh yeah,
We were midway through making our predictions.
Yeah, and then Pep whole ass spoiled something.
Did he?
But we played it off.
I'll ask you after the show.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I know when we were talking, I got one prediction like spot on, and I was like, whenever it happened, I was so sad, but I was like, I called it.
Now, okay, so all this being said, we do want to kind of wrap up this portion and just lightly hit Book of Boba Fett. You know, because episode 2 dropped, and I'm sure everyone has some thoughts of like a banta. I'm sure we have some thoughts on that. So, do you guys have final thoughts or things you want to run around with?
Nothing much besides I started reading Vader 2015, so now I know who Black Chrysanto is, because like in our reaction we're like,
I mean,
What is that?
also a spoiler for No Way Home, but that was the exact same thing that happened with my wife of you know,
am I back?
yeah, you're back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Did your connection drop at all? Or like
It did.
Yeah, it looks like even the stream was having some issues.
The stream was like, "You're not spoiling No Way Home. We're gonna make sure it doesn't happen." And it's just like the YouTube servers like
No, let's just say that there was a scene in No Way Home where the scene started, and I was like, "Yeah!" and like half of the audience was like, "Yeah!"
Oh,
and my wife was like,
"Yeah,
what are we yelling about?" Like,
I feel that.
Do you mean the brick?
Yes, that whole scene.
All right, what were you talking about?
Black Potato.
Just
Rookie.
a really good lawyer. Yeah.
Yeah, a really good lawyer. And the Avengers, if you know what they are.
Press F in the chat. We're back on stream, guys.
But no, I just finished Master and Apprentice today.
Hey.
So that's really, really good. And I'm about to start Bloodline tomorrow. So like I'm super excited to, because
Nice.
Bloodline's been hyped up forever. I'm like,
As it
it's
should
time.
be.
It's finally time. Yeah.
It is.
And then Hereth, I think we're gonna read Alphabet Squadron
Yep.
together eventually.
Eventually is always
yeah.
is just my backlog. Eventually.
Well, I say
So,
No, I think I'm after I finish Bloodline. We'll start.
I have
You
Bloodline
know
as well, so I can read that too.
Yeah.
you know what I absolutely love about this community, though, is like the more now that we have like all these people, we're all excited to keep up. It just gets more exciting to like have these pieces, and then when you see something, you know, to be able to watch Book of Boba Fett and being like, I wonder if that's Ridden Riven Dai's gang. That's such a cool feeling, you know, to be reading, you know, this and be like, oh, is that the same diva? You know, or like, you know, it's cool. And also, I will say this: once you catch up on all the canon books, life is so much easier. It's so much because there's no looming knowledge. You just read a book when it comes out, and you're done. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm a third of the way through. I've read 17 books. And I've heard there's like 55, maybe, like of adult novels.
I don't know the exact number.
It's on Wikipedia's canon media list. You can just go through and just be like, all right, here's what I need to read.
But I have 9, 10 I have that are just on the waiting to be read.
It's
There's
tough.
always that list.
Which is why I keep up
shout
with
out to you guys.
I just keep up with the latest stuff as a higher priority because it's just gonna keep building up. And I've I purposefully kind of shy away from the one shots and the short stories unless like I feel like there's information that I need in there, and that stuff just piles up like a lot.
Yeah, and honestly, shout out to you guys, because if it weren't for you guys, I would not have the 20
Same.
Star Wars book collection that I do. So thank you
And
guys.
that is our proudest moment.
Yeah, I gotta say thank you. I mean, like, you know, Carter was always in the chat for High Ground podcast, like after wrestling and stuff like that. And I'd be like, dude, it's Carter. Like,
There'd be times I would be sitting in my sauna, losing weight, like dead to the world, and I'd be like, ooh, High Ground's on at least.
So I don't know, it's just cool to see this like develop, and like now more people are talking, and like there's just feel like there's excitement everywhere. It's a big turning point in the fandom.
What's the delta from when we first started Choco, the Dyad book club, to today? How many people are talking about books, talking about starting to read books, and how many people are like just making videos on Fallen Star?
At least 30, from what I've noticed.
More than that.
I will say fully that, you know, when the book club was started, we did Lost Stars, and that was a lot of people's first Star Wars book, but I don't know a single one of them where that was the last.
Yeah.
So
everyone that I am mutuals with and everyone that I see on TikTok nowadays has talked about a book. And that's just like a proud feeling, a feeling of pride and I'm pretty sure I can speak for both Choco and myself in that regard. It's just fantastic to see people reading books now.
Kind of in the same reflect, I would say not just books, but also just Star Wars podcasts. I just like, obviously we were talking about Dyad, we got Conspiracy Cantina, got Pod Ones, we got so many different podcasts. Or
English class.
Yeah, we got so many podcasts that just came from High Ground and Dyad, and then we just evolved it.
But now these conversations are going on like without us, and like that's the best thing. Yeah. So I apologize. This isn't like us trying to toot our horns or anything like that. And it's highly probable that a lot of this conversations would have happened if someone else would have stepped up to the plate. But no, I just thank you guys for being part of the community and like helping this. Otherwise, there's just be one man yelling into a crowd.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's on the community's shoulders to do something about it, right? So if Choco and I start Dyad and he starts High Ground, if he starts High Ground and I don't start Dyad, that doesn't happen. He just has High Ground, and then from there, the people who chose to do their own podcast, that chose to join the book club, to read books, that chose to become content creators as a result, the onus is on them. They took action, and that's what carries this community. Everyone.
Yep. And speaking of which, just like Brooke said, go and check out Sith Faced podcast, hosted by Atlantis and V. And oh man, I need to respond because I'm supposed to join them for an episode sometime soon.
Respond, Choco. Jesus.
Choco just gets so many DMs, it just piles up. He's just like, whoa, what did I get DM from today? Oh, this person. Oh god.
It's true.
He just says, I want to see a black Wookiee punch Boba Fett. This is who I am. I crave violence. And I have a feeling that's going to be the case. Chew black.
Oh, I forgot Brian did that. Oh my god.
Oh man. Speaking of which, can we talk about the thirst that's been going on for black chrysanthemum?
Oh my gosh.
Which like, I was like, all right,
this is too much. Are the main consultant here.
Shayla, Ren, you've been helping this too. You too.
Yeah, it's been interesting, but then again, and I was gonna make a TikTok on this. I have to say, like, if you look at the image that they keep showing of him, somehow he looks exactly like Oscar Isaac did in Dune. I feel like it's the same energy. Think about it.
I can see it a little bit. It's all in the eyes. But also, like, now that we're talking about the cause of a movement in the Star Wars community, I feel like Filoni and Favreau have done so much with making people interested in the external media, with everything that they've done with the characters that they put in these shows. Black Chrysanthemum, I am seeing more people picking up comics now to read his story, picking up Afra to read about, like, who is Black Chrysanthemum? Oh, you can read about him in Star Wars. Like, all of these, like, side characters that are adjacent to visual media. And I think we're gonna just see Dirge. We're gonna see all these bounty hunters that have only been on the page. It's going to cause more people to read the books and comics. So, equally,
could you guys
Filoni and Favreau do
something
this.
for me?
Yes.
So, I have not read any of the Afro comics. I was looking to get the audio drama today, the Afro audio drama.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly is that?
It's basically the 2015 Vader run from her perspective specifically.
is that a good place to start with her, or should
That's
I
where we were introduced with her. So yeah, that's a fine place to start. If I would highly recommend reading the Vader 2015 run in its entirety, because it's bad ass at certain places. But yeah, you can God damn it. But you can chat be wild. Yeah, you can listen to that and understand that arc. They have a full arc within the Vader comic that's separate from Vader's.
Yeah, and it's also kind of like introduces you to the people around her as well. Their origin. Because if you jump into like the Afro comics for a while, like she's already established, she's in the middle of something. So if you're gonna do the audio drama, read Vader 2015, and you'll find out where Choco's favorite murder droid comes from, torture droid. I mean.
I do love me some Trip. I will say though, lately I've actually been leaning back towards Mr. Bones again. Mr. Bones loves violence.
I need live action Afra and Santi hanging out. You know, Afra wasn't on my list of people that could show up in the Book of Boba Fett, but with Chrysanthemum, it has increased the likelihood of it. But I don't know if they are going to do it.
I feel like if they're going to introduce Afra, this is just kind of me going on, I guess, wilding. I know everyone's like, oh my god, this and Kenobi, but like, I feel like Afra, if she's going to show up, I feel like Kenobi would be the right place to put it.
I feel like we could see her in Boba. I don't know anything about her, but it seems like good.
Okay, I kind of want the girl from the that Jedi fan film that we just watched to be Afra. I don't know why. She gives me Afra energy.
The one in Origin? Or Anaconda?
Anaconda.
Yeah.
My Anaconda don't.
I could always use more Anaconda. That's for sure. Yeah, I mean...
Malik.
What's Malik saying?
Malik said Carter and Hereth might be meeting Afra after this because we're playing D&D.
Yeah, we are.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Tabletops tonight.
Yes.
Did you guys know that, or did he just completely spoil that?
No, we knew that.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
You didn't?
Oh, so I did get it spoiled to me. Are you kidding me?
He told me like NBC like at least 3 times.
Oh, jeez.
He said might. So, you know, knowing what an excellent DM Malik is, I'm sure he has multiple encounters planned out, depending on where you guys go or who you plan to align with. So,
do you have an ETA on his piece for Voyage of Destruction?
Oh, yeah, that should be posted tomorrow.
Nice. Malik, look out for that on Choco's YouTube video. You get your little moment to shine there. All right.
We need to get Malik to 1,000. Come on, guys. He's one of the people that needs to 1K.
Yes.
I said this the other night, but I need a podcast of just Malik and Dagavir.
It would be so hype.
Their energy, it would be through the roof.
Peanut butter and jelly. That's the combination.
Safe Head asks what's posted tomorrow.
Peanut butter and jam, because you know, there's a difference between jelly and jam.
I like jelly.
That's a joke for Malik. He's probably laughing somewhere.
I could feel it. I could feel his choking up, laughing energy across the force.
What's posted tomorrow? That's going to be just another like video on Voyage of Destruction, starring Malik.
Well, we see more Malik content out there.
Yes,
absolutely.
Malik needs. Yeah.
So just one more thing on that. On this episode of the Book of Boba Fett. So we got Santi in there. Oh man, that flashback though. Just overall, your guys' thoughts on the entire episode, the time that we got to spend with Tuskens, the whole flashback. I mean, how did it hit you guys? Are you feeling really good about the series? Is it lagging a little bit for you? Is it your favorite thing so far? Yeah, how you feeling on it?
I really like it so far. I feel like what it's doing now early in the show is stuff that needed to happen. I was talking about this last night on the Podswam podcast because they fly now on Podswam. We do like a stream every Friday talking about the newest episode of Book of Boba. But we were talking and I was just saying like it's getting stuff that we had questions on, like how Boba escaped the Sarlacc or how he got in with all of the Sand People. Like it's doing all these things that we needed to see in canon so that it wasn't like speculated. And I really like how we're getting that early in the series, because I feel like now once we progress with the series, we don't have to keep wondering about those events. But no, I don't feel like it's dragging. I don't get it when people say that. I just think it's all really good.
So do you think
it's not my favorite, but it's really good?
Do you think that from now on it's going to be less and less flashbacky and it's going to go
if I had to guess, I would say maybe, but we still have years to cover with them. I think it's hard to say. I think maybe as we get to maybe part 5 or so, it'll start to really back off, but I think for the next few, it's going to be kind of how it was last week, but I could be completely wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, and kind of building up what Carter says, I'm going to quote Brian on this because like when he said it, I'm like, yeah, you're right. When you think about it, the main storyline isn't the present day stuff. It's the flashbacks, or as Julia will call it, parallel timelines. When you think about the show, the main story is how did Boba get out of the Sarlacc pit, become a Tusken Raider, and grow into a crime lord? It's not Boba as a crime lord going around like being a badass. That's what the show is. It's Boba's journey into his character development to learn about respect. Because you need to learn why he kills Bib Fortuna and why he takes the throne. There has to be a cause and effect that leads him to that point. He doesn't randomly just decide, I'm going to kill Bib Fortuna, because why not? You need these explanations to get there.
Yeah,
Yep, and that's one of my predictions.
It's gonna, like the flashbacks will end with that scene. Maybe?
I think something happens with the tribe of Tuskens that he joins. I think it could be an attack by another clan that has been kind of pushed into it by Bib ultimately being responsible. We could end up with the warrior that trained him defecting or being injured from it, from something. But either way, there has to be. This group is starting to look at him like he's family, and there has to be a reason that he left it. A damn good reason.
That is
so.
True.
Yeah, that's the question. I have some specific predictions that I'm going to put in video form. So I'm not saying here, but. But we have to get to that point with why.
Thanks for withholding your thoughts. No, just kidding.
He wants to promote his content.
No, there's definitely there's definitely narrative point A's and B's in both timelines. But I would have to largely agree to a certain extent that we're going to see the past connect its A and B first. But I have to stay cognizant of the A and B in the present, because they can't make that an afterthought. They can't make the Hutts, Fennec, and Boba versus Chrysanthemum, the Pike Syndicate, and the Criminal Underworld an afterthought. And if they do, that's going to hurt the show. I think there's room for them to explore, since chapter 2 was 50 minutes. So I think there's going to be room for them to explore both timelines and provide a point A and B for both timelines. Because if they only provide a point A and B for one of them, the other half is going to feel very, very lackluster. And they run the risk of kind of being back heavy of a show. Because then, like, no one's gonna care about his feud with the Hutts or his contention for the territory of Mos Espa.
Yeah,
something has to happen there.
They need to find that sweet spot.
Balance. I said
that's
like maybe keep that balance. Yeah. Like 30 minutes.
But
yeah,
I have hope that they're going to achieve it, because if there's episodes like 50 minutes long, they're not skimping, or they're not like cutting it short, like on purpose. Whereas some episodes of Mando was like 32 minutes. I'm like, huh? Like, tell more story if you need to.
Yeah.
But if all of these episodes of Book of Boba Fett is like close to an hour long, there's a lot of narrative to explore in both timelines. Yeah. But my prediction for sure is going to be Kira and Quinlan Vos.
Yeah.
But Kira,
I agree.
Of course, Quinlan Vos.
Kira, because he messed with the Pikes. And although we don't know where she is right now, judging from where we are left off in Crimson Reign on the comics, she's all over the galaxy, all over the syndicates. You know, it's almost as prevalent as the Collective, except under the name of Crimson Dawn. So whoever's messing with the syndicates is messing with Crimson Dawn, and whether it's going to be like an after credit scene or like at the very end of the season, I think Kira's going to show up, and that's my ultimate prediction. What are you guys?
I would.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go Carter.
I was gonna say I would also agree. I think one thing Star Wars does really well, and I think Marvel may not do the best, is hiding these things. Like, we hid Luke Skywalker was showing up in Mando the whole season, so I think like I don't think there's gonna be any like leaks or anything about it. But yeah, I would have to agree that I think Kira's gonna also show up. Sorry, Hereth, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. I was gonna kind of agree with the Kira theory. I think, why would you build her up so much and just not put her in? I think it makes sense. And then, like they say in Solo, Dryden Voss says the Pikes are the most important syndicate to him because of the spice mines in Kessel. They highlighted that again. That's not just like a thing. Directly or indirectly, they're hinting at Crimson Dawn.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, outside of narrative elements, like, why bring her back in the comics? Why kind of prop her story up around the time of Book of Boba Fett? It's because of relevance. It's because of, like, you know, if she does show up and you're like, oh my gosh, read the Crimson Reign comics, like read these comics.
There's absolutely a reason that we got War of the Bounty Hunters, brought back Kira in it, and had all this stuff lead right into, you know, that War of the Bounty Hunters leads right into Boba bringing Han to Jabba, which leads into this show. And so there's no reason to think that other items connected to the show weren't planned out together. Like, it's not an accident that they've been referring to the Slave One as Boba Fett's starship and rebranding that, because they know what's going to be coming in the future, you know.
Yeah, and
yeah,
as we've been saying for the longest time, this is the most interconnected Star Wars has ever been. Projects from years and years ago, referencing the High Republic, referencing Avar Kriss, then projects, you know, now referencing the High Republic, and like, it's just, there's so many small details in Star Wars now that you're just like, they're paying attention and they are sprinkling this stuff in here and there, and you know, it's showing up in the form of Black Chrysanthemum, but like, all of these cameos, all of these Easter eggs connect with the books and the comics, and it just like elevates the importance of the expanded universe and the canon expanded universe of the books and comics, and you're just like, this stuff is like, when we say no, this is important, we should pay attention to this. It used to be where, like, I think you're reaching, like, they didn't think of this stuff. Now they have. What used to be fan theories, like reaching back then with like, you know, the EU and Legends. Now it's real because the books and comics are canon.
Yeah.
So they have thought of this stuff.
I always say this to people when I'm describing like how Star Wars canon works. I call it the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but on steroids, because while the movies and Marvel Cinematic Universe is just movies and shows, there's nothing really interconnected besides that. With Star Wars, it's movies, shows, comics, books, games. Like they're every medium. While yes, there are some mediums that take precedence over the other, they're almost just as important to the main overall story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
And whatever you see in the books and comics, you can likely see on the screen. And whatever you see on the screen will potentially have a book and comic about it. So it's.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I say, I mean, I love Legends. I truly do. But I recommend people read canon more now, and especially if you're just getting started, because again, this stuff is going to it's going to matter going forward. You know, that's the main difference.
Yeah.
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 Whatever you read in canon now, in terms of books or comics, you're going to see, you could very well see the consequences of it or its influence in upcoming media. And we didn't used to have that kind of imaginative power in the EU. Because while I was reading Old Republic and playing SWTOR, I was like, you know, they're never going to make a movie about this. Right?
Yeah.
Did you ever once think, Choco, that they were going to make a movie about, like, Legacy or Fate?
No, that wouldn't be possible.
I just know now, whatever book and comic I read in canon, I'm like, oh, this would be great in a show. Like, you have that feeling, you have that power to you know, speculate that much now, which is the power of canon.
Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah, we are out of time. I would like to thank our guests, Hereth and Carter, They Fly Now podcast, for this crossover episode, and for, you know, coming on and participating. We'll start with Hereth. Let everyone know what you're all about, where we can find you, and who is your favorite High Republic character now? I'm just kidding. You don't have to answer that. It might be spoilery.
I'll answer it. You know what? I'll kind of give him, but not really.
Okay.
The only answer I'm giving you is it wasn't who it was at the start. That's all I'm giving you for favorite character, because if I go into more, it's spoilers. I'm gonna leave it just crisp right there. If you want to know, DM me somewhere. I'll give you the answer. If you've read it, you read it. But anyway, if you want to find me, I'm on Hereth Productions on TikTok, and They Fly Now show on YouTube. And every Monday, we talk about topics. Like I said earlier, Ezra Bridger is going to be the episode this week, and I can't wait to talk about that.
Carter.
Yep, same thing. You can find me on They Fly Now, which we're trying to hit 100 subscribers, and we're like 10 away. Maybe less than that. But
Go
we're
follow.
really trying to hit 100, so we really appreciate it. And then you can find me on TikTok at Car2D2. As my favorite characters from the High Republic, well, favorite Jedi, I'm just going to say, like, I don't want to have any spoilers, but Bell is my favorite Jedi, and non-Force user is Affie Hollow.
Good one.
I love
good
Affie.
one.
I love the crew from Into the Dark. They're
I
like
do too.
my ghost crew of the High Republic.
Which is why it
not
saddens me that no one said Geode, but we'll go to Choco. We'll round it out.
Like a rock.
How is he moving?
He's Batman.
Oh god, there's a thing, you know, that's early on, and he's like, I find this monolith, and I'm like, did people worship here? Is this a shrine?
Oh my gosh! Oh yes,
I love that scene so much. There are times where you do laugh like heartily during this book. But my favorite High Republic Jedi has to be and it's not just because he's black, but I love Emmerich. I really do.
I was reading Trail of Shadows really quickly last night, and I suddenly started doing a Mace Windu voice. Not what I found. Not what I found, Elzar.
But he's. I don't know. I just like the way that his mind deduces things, and like, you know, there's a scene in it where they're in a crime scene and the cops are like, obviously this happened, and they're like, oh, obviously you're an idiot. And they start breaking things down, and I just, you know, I love characters that just like deducing things. That's why I also love Thrawn, and that's just kind of that's why I love Doctor Doom. You know, that's just it's a whole thing, but Emmerich is my favorite.
Yeah. So my favorite High Republic Jedi, and I will rank them, or not rank them, I'll just list them because of what Malik said. But yes, it is Orla Jareni, followed by Vernestra and Zine. I'm just excited to see the stories that involve those characters. And we have from Camilla, Elzar jumped so high on my list. Elzar Man is amazing by St. Pat. Malik apparently reads Emmerich's voice as Jeffrey Wright.
That's good. I like it.
I feel bad for not giving my answer because everyone's like, oh, this Jedi. I'll give it. It's Elzar. Everyone else look in the chat.
But yeah, that's going to do it for this episode of Dyad in the Force, episode 59. I think. Yes, episode 59. Thank you so much to They Fly Now, Carter and Hereth for joining us. Do you have any final thoughts, Choco?
I got nothing in my brain. After reading it, there's no thoughts. There is only sadness. There is only the void. There's only the void and the hope that things are gonna get better.
And with that said, that is the end. On to the next one.
For light and for life.
We are all the Republic.
And may the Force be with you. And in my